Here is a step-by-step on how to get a huge no-doc business line of credit with EIN only. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love today's conversation. I guarantee it. Welcome back, folks, to another edition of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. How are you today? I hope you are doing fantastic. I'm doing marvelous, if you were to ask me. If you are doing as perfect as I am, go grab a cup of coffee or tea or let's roll. In today's conversation, I want to address a very important topic. How do you get a huge no-doc business line of credit with EIN only? So that phrase, how do you get a huge no-doc, no document business line of credit with EIN only? That phrase has three important elements. So first we have no documents. And second, we have business line of credit. And third, we have EIN only. So no doc means what? Actually, a no doc loan does not exist in reality. At least you're going to have some kind of documents. And the most important one for lenders who accept a no doc loan is a set of financial statements. So in other words, you have stated income, stated business income. You're telling them what you have made. Of course, you got to prove it either through accounting software so you can actually plug in, you can do a direct integration into their system so they can analyze your financials right away and they can see. And that's pretty easy. Nowadays, you have tools that make it possible. If you're using QuickBooks or Wave or Zero, you can integrate your accounting, your financials into the lender's programs and they can see exactly what's going on. That's number one. Either that or you just send them a full set of financial statements via Excel or any other program, and they will also want to see your bank statements. So this is all those lenders are required. They're not asking you for business permits and licenses. They're not asking you for audited financial statements. They're just asking you for basic financial statements that come straight from your accounting software, as well as your bank statements. Okay, now that's the first part. The second part of this trifecta is a line of credit. Business line of credit is just very easy. It works the same way as your personal line of credit. In other words, the lender will give you a certain amount of money, and as you spend it and as you repay, the line of credit replenishes itself. Okay, think of it as a credit card. Same thing. You use it, you pay it back, and you just replenish it. And the third element of this is that the EIN only. In other words, it means that the lender is only looking at your business credit. They're looking at the constellation of factors that make up your business credit. They're not paying attention to your personal credit. No. So EIN, by the way, stands for Employer Identification Number. And you get that number from it's just like your company's social. You get it from the IRS. Okay. So this is something you need to know. And when we talk about no doc business line of credit, you have to understand that there is a specific, I would say, category of lenders that take care of that kind of loans. You're not going to get this from traditional lenders such as banks and credit unions. No. They don't do that. All right. Now let's talk about the step-by-step. If you want to get a huge no documents business line of credit with EIN only, the first step is you need to get your paperwork together. Very important. And on top of that, you got to have an EIN. I'm not even mentioning that you got to have an EIN, right? You got it from the IRS. It takes 5 minutes, 5 minutes top. Very easy. Do it online right now. No problem. Once you have your EIN, it doesn't mean that simply because you have an EIN means you can qualify for EIN only business loans. No, it doesn't work like that. First of all, if you have no documents, you better have sales. You better have a business. You can't be a startup and imagine that you are going to get an EIN only no doc business line of credit. It doesn't work unless you really have a bunch of experts behind you and you have some connections. But otherwise, you got to be in business for a while. Okay, you have to have articles of incorporation. What I'm telling you here, folks, is that you need to show something to the lender. Okay. And articles of incorporation, if you are a corporation, if you're a C Corp or S Corp, and you got to have articles of organization if you're an LLC. What am I trying to say here? What I'm trying to say here indirectly is that you cannot be a sole proprietorship and pretend to have an EIN only, no doc business line of credit. It will never work. Also, try to take care of your financial statements. Okay, make sure that you have a proper system in place to record your accounting transactions, and also prepare a set of financial statements. If you can't do it, you can actually hire an accountant to take care of it for you, or just use QuickBooks. It's pretty sophisticated if you just enter the right amount, and and also have your bank statements ready. And when it comes to EIN only, no doc business line of credit, lenders wants to see a full set of bank statements, not just 3 months. No, they want to see 6 months or 1 year. Okay, and you need to have your credit card sales reports, because how are you going to prove to the lender that you are making money? Well, you can't be in a cash business. They don't take that. So you got to have debit card transactions or credit card sales reports. If you have access to your tax returns, fantastic. And if you have your business licenses and permits, it's welcome, but it's not mandatory. Step number 2, you need to understand basic terms here. Okay, so when we speak about no doc business line of credits, there are a couple of things that you have to understand. The lenders we're speaking about today, they require zero documentation, or they have fewer application requirements than conventional loans. Okay, and the fewer means what? They want at least bank statements, credit card sales reports, and financial statements if possible. If you are in business, chances are you do have some financial statements. You can't tell me that you've been running a business for a while. Again, let me just specify, you cannot be a startup. You cannot be a startup and want to have a no doc business line of credit with EIN only. You got to have some kind of operational history. Okay, so what I'm trying to say here is that even if the lender has fewer application requirements, you better be ready on your end, because usually no doc business lines of credit don't require collateral. They don't require personal guarantee. Okay, so lack of collateral can sometimes hold some business owners back from being approved for financing from traditional lenders such as banks and credit unions, right? So this is kind of cool. Now, what is sometimes you hear the term secured versus unsecured lines of credit. Very simple. Secured means that you are actually pledging something. You're pledging collateral, you are pledging assets, the business's assets, or your personal asset. Okay, so when we speak about secure lines of credit, you have some element of collateralization, either coming from the owner or coming from the business. Unsecured just means that you're not pledging anything. The lender is basing the lending decision on the solidity of your financial statements or the solidity of your company's profile. Okay, and what are the types of no doc business lines of credit? Because when we speak about business lines of credit, there are several types of block, what we call block. And so you have merchant cash advances, the MCAs. This is one type of no doc business lines of credit. In other words, in an MCA, the lender pays attention to one important thing: credit card sales report. That's it. As long as they can determine the validity and the authenticity of the credit card sales reports that you have, that's all they need. You also have invoice financing, accounts receivable factoring, and those things, again, you have to have credit card sales reports. What I'm trying to say here is you need to have electronic sales. You cannot be having like some cash transactions going on and then you want a lender to lend to you, to give you a business line of credit with EIN only based on no documentation. It will never work. You also have business credit cards. If you really think about it, a business credit card is a no doc business line of credit. In most cases, if you play the game right with EIN only, the business card issuer is not going to look at your personal score. They're going to look at your business score, your business credit score. Okay, so this is something you need to understand. And we also have the low doc loans, business loans, and a low doc business loan generally requires less paperwork. In other words, bank statements or merchant statements during the application process. All right, folks. The third thing you have to do, you need to know the pros and cons. So if you want to get a huge no doc business line of credit with EIN only, it's very important to educate yourself. Why? Because once you have once you have an idea of what's going on, if you know exactly how to play the game, then you can go to one lender versus another, because you understand the pros and cons. So you sort of bring those pros and cons to your business's situation and see what works for you. Okay, so there are a few benefits and a few cons. Now, the benefits far outweigh the drawbacks in general, but everything is relative. It depends on your business. So what are the pros here? So if you're not able to qualify for other financing options, a no doc business line of credit will help you access funds, because typically if you are approved for a no doc business line of credit, you can access your cash right away. Some cases within 4 hours. Okay, and the application process for conventional business loans, by contrast, can take weeks. Sometimes, weeks. Now, if you do it online, you can get your cash within 3 days or 4 days max. But if you do it at a branch or at a credit union branch or a bank branch, it might take 2, 3, 4 weeks. Okay, so there's something you need to understand, that when we think about the processing of a no doc lines of credit, things could go real fast. It can happen within a day. Approval can happen within a day, as long as you have all the documentation. Okay, all they want to do is just to have a credit card sales report and have access to your accounting software to take a look at your finances, take a look at your financial statements. What about the cons? So when we talk about no doc business lines of credit, there are two main risks, two main cons. Number one, you have the high APR. This is very important. The high APR, you have APRs that if you annualize the APR, you're probably looking at 50 to 70%. Now, they do have a very astute, very smart way of charging this. They charge by factor rate. So they will say something like 1.0, 1.10, 1.05, all that kind of stuff. But when you annualize it, it's very high. And the second thing here is that the repayment speed. So you're probably paying every week or every day, because they're not giving you, you don't have a repayment duration. You don't have a loan term of 7 years or 5 years. You're having a loan term of 6 to 18 months. So you're paying more frequently. So this could disrupt your liquidity, your liquidity processes if you don't manage things properly. But that's really what you need to think about in terms of the cons. I'll be right back right after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back, folks, to another section of the Awesome Sweetie Kiwi Show. I'm still talking to you right now about how to get a huge no doc business line of credit with EIN only. Number 4, you need to evaluate your situation properly. At the end of the day, you got to ask yourself, why do you want or need a no doc business loan in the first place? Because because doing that analysis, going through that analytical journey, can help you understand exactly whether the problem lies in bad liquidity management, or whether it is something just cyclical. It's just something, it's a bad moment for the industry or your sector, or something. You want to have an idea whether the problems is internal or external. So how do you do this? You have to look at things not only at the business level, but also at the personal level, right? So your personal credit, your business credit, your business's credit. Have you had solvency issues in the past that are now preventing you from qualifying for a traditional business loan? If yes, what should you do? Same thing with your bankruptcy. Have you filed for bankruptcy in the past? So if you have adverse events on your credit score, on your credit history rather, if you have derogatory items on your credit report, it's about time you start thinking about how to fix it. Because you could still apply for a no doc business line of credit with EIN only, but it's also important at some point to take a look at your credit history and say, I think this item doesn't belong here. And you can dispute it, you can DIY it, or you can just hire a nonprofit or for-profit credit repair company to take care of it for you. You also need to assess your current financial situation to understand whether or not you can afford, because a no doc business line of credit, as I just said, is expensive compared to traditional loans, traditional business loans, and you have to be comfortable that you can afford the high level of the high APR, the exorbitant fees that come with that kind of loan. Very important. You also want to analyze your operational, legal, and financial processes. This is a time to really understand how things go within your company, because if you're just pouring money at a problem that has not been solved foundationally, then you are just wasting money. You just are just you're just creating a chasm, a big chasm that will just that will suck all your money. So think about that. Also, pay attention to your accounting flows. Your accounting flows mean your accounting work stream. Do you have a bookkeeper? Do you have an accountant? Are you outsourcing the accounting functions? Are you using DIY software? That kind of stuff. And also pay attention to your financial statements. How are they calculated? How are they prepared? Do you trust the process? Step number 5, folks. If you want to get a huge no-doc business line of credit with EIN only, you want to identify the no-doc business line lenders. Okay, what are those lenders offering no-doc business lines of credit? Well, guess what? We have found some good lenders for you that you would appreciate. And first, we have here Advanced Point Capital, and this is a lender that offers an amount up to $100,000. This is a business line of credit with EIN only, no doc. All right, the term 12 months. Okay, that's what I was just telling you earlier, that you don't even think about 7 years as you would have in the traditional SBA loans, or 5 years in the traditional business loan. No, here you have 12 months. And the credit score goes from poor to excellent. They're okay with that. They have no problem with it. Then you have Sunwise Capital. And Sunwise Capital will approve you within 24 to 48 hours. Okay. And the amount will oscillate between $20,000 and $200,000. And the terms, 12 months. In terms of FICO score, they will accept you if you have a 600 minimum. And that's all they do. And we have also Fundbox. Fundbox is another great platform that offers no-doc business lines of credit. And instead of you submitting bank statements or financial records, you will connect your accounting software or bank account as part of the application process, so the company can confirm your revenue and determine eligibility. That's what I was telling you earlier. In a lot of cases, they're not even asking you to provide any documentation. Just connect, just plug in, just integrate your accounting software to their system, and everything is fine. And if funds will be available if approved the next business day. Okay, so you're looking at amounts ranging from $100 to $100,000. It's kind of funny. Who borrows $100 on a business line of credit? But that's, yeah. So the terms 12 or 24 weeks, and the credit score 500 minimum. Then you have OnDeck. With OnDeck, the amounts will oscillate between $5,000 and $6,000 and $100,000. Terms 12 months. Credit score 600 personal credit score. Okay, and OnDeck is kind of cool too, because you can fill out the short application form online or over the phone. And then you also have Business Advance Funding. This is another no-doc business line of credit lender. And here the loan range from $5,000 to $500,000. The terms 4 to 12 months, and credit score from poor to excellent. So all you have to do is they require minimal documentation, and they accept everybody, including people who have bankruptcies in the last. If you have bankruptcies and it has been discharged, okay. But if the bankruptcy is open, they're not going to allow you. No, and you gotta have at least $5,000 a month in gross sales. And you have to be in business for at least 6 months. Number 6, folks, we're still talking today, folks, about how to get a huge no-doc business line of credit with EIN only. Number 6, you need to know alternatives to blocks, alternatives to business line of credit. Because as I told you, I mean, the one advantage here is that you get the cash real fast with business line of credit, but you're paying a lot of cash back in APR. So if you know the alternative to business lines of credit, that will be cool. So you have a short-term business loans. This is one alternative to business line of credit. So here you have a factor rates that starts at 1.10 up to 1.45, and typically the terms are 6 to 18 months. The fees 1% to 5% origination fees, and some lenders want you to pay a weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, and in some cases a daily, Monday through Friday. So something you need to think about. You also have a business cash advance, right? So this is an interesting one. Business cash advances are also known as a purchase of future sales agreements, advanced, and what they do is they give you a fixed lump sum, and they take a little bit of it. In other words, they give you a fixed lump sum of money with a discounted purchase price, also known as a specific amount to pay back. So the advance is repaid by taking a fixed percentage of future overall sales, which are different than a merchant cash advance because those take a percentage of future card sales. For example, PayPal does this very well. They do a business cash advance, so they get repaid through your sales. So something to know about. You can also try invoice financing if that's what you want. Now, invoice financing is also referred to as invoice factoring, okay, or accounts receivable financing. There are in reality there are slight differences, but I don't want to go too deep here, but just know that invoice financing and invoice factoring are correlated. They are slightly different, but I will explain this on another show. I will go in depth if you want it. Just let me know in the comment section. I'll be but the bottom line here is that for invoice financing, you as a business owner, you are able to acquire cash quickly from your invoices, and you can actually, of course, the lender will give you some cash with a discount. But if you really think about it, that's good because traditionally, if you have a net 30 or a net 60 or net 90 customers, you're going to have to wait 1 to 3 months to get your cash. All right. So this is not really good. But yeah, so there are alternatives out there when it comes to business lines of credit. All right, folks. This is actually, we're getting to the end of today's conversation. Now, one thing I want to say here is that let's just have a quick conversation here. Are no-doc business lines of credit a good idea? My answer is it depends. If you need cash quickly and you have no other source of business lending to get your cash from, I would say go ahead and do it. Because at the end of the day, it's all about surviving in the short term, because if you don't survive in the short term, you can't be there in the long term to fight. Okay, so if you have no other course of action available to you, go ahead and get the business line of credit, but do some research first. You want to do some research. We have a whole constellation of videos about funding for bad credit, no credit, low credit, no sales, all that kind of good stuff. So just browse through our catalog of videos and find out one that works for you. But it is definitely a good decision, but just be mindful of the fact that it is expensive. It can be expensive. Okay, so folks, I was talking to you about how to get a huge no-doc business line of credit with EIN only. So the step-by-step, number one, you want to get your paperwork together. Number two, you want to understand the basic terms that revolve around no-doc business line of credit. Number three, you want to know the pros and cons of business lines of credit. Number four, you want to assess your situation properly. Number five, you want to identify no-doc business line of credit lenders. Number six, you need to know alternative to business line of credit lenders. Thank you so much, folks, for your attention. I really appreciate it. I will see you next time. But until then, remember, stay marvelous.